And I remember as the letters came off of my fingertips how scared I was, because I knew from the reactions of both my mom and my clinic that there was something they weren't telling me.
I got cystic fibrosis. See, I've got cystic fibrosis.
Hello everyone, welcome back to those of you who have been here before, and hello to anyone who's new. Here we talk about cystic fibrosis, and I really think in any disease, understanding is a key aspect of being a patient. But in cystic fibrosis, I think understanding takes a whole nother level of severity, because it's not only understanding what the disease is, it's the understanding of its implications on your future, your lifespan, your lifestyle, and your quality of life. Because of this, I really think that being diagnosed and understanding cystic fibrosis are two very different things. Our diagnosis is very much for our parents because they can understand it at the time, whereas for CF patients, a lot of the times we don't fully understand the magnitude of what CF can do to our lives until later in life. I'm going to share with you a story that I think I have only told to maybe a handful of people in my entire life, but I want to tell you because I think there are so many people and so many young people out there struggling with coming to terms with cystic fibrosis and what impact it can have on your life and your future. And I want to share my experience and what I've learned as I've become older with cystic fibrosis, and I'm now 24 and living with it. So when the topic of understanding CF came up, I honestly thought I'm still understanding what it is today with the new advances in technology and medicine. It's a very dynamic disease, and there's always something coming out each year to help us. But there is a point in time in my life where I can pinpoint where I understood what CF meant, and that was at the age of 12. Before this, I had asked questions about CF. I knew what it was. I knew cystic fibrosis was a lung disease. I had to do treatments, but I didn't really understand what it meant long term. So as I got older, I occasionally would poke at the issue, either with my mother or at clinics. And I would say things like, oh, I can't wait to go to college. I can't wait to have a family. Oh, I want to be a nurse when I grow up. And based on their reaction, I could tell there was something they weren't telling me. They always responded positively and encouragingly and saying, oh, do that, it's going to be great. Like, yes, you'll do that, of course. But there was always this hint of reservation that I could sense even at the age of 12. So at the age of 12, I sat myself down at the age of 12 in front of our family computer in the library by myself at our giant black desktop computer, and pulled up the internet and went to Google. And when I went to Google, I typed in cystic fibrosis, and I think the CF Foundation and things like that popped up. And nothing I was really looking for popped up right away. And in a true 12-year-old mind, I wanted to know right now. So I didn't want to read, and so I went back to the search bar and I refined my search. I typed in cystic fibrosis life expectancy. And as the letters came off of my fingertips onto the keyboard, I had just a chill go down my spine, and as it popped up, I wearingly clicked on, I think, the first thing that popped up, which most likely was Wikipedia or some search engine like that. And I started scrolling through, and it was saying a lot of things that I had already known. It was a lung disease, it caused increased mucus, things like that. But from the reaction of my mom and my clinic, I knew there was something they weren't telling me. There was a deep, dark secret that I didn't know. And as I started scrolling down, almost as if it jumped off the screen, in big, bold print, it seemed like there was just a giant number that said 26. And it seemed like in an instant, in a Google search, millisecond, my entire life that I had thought for myself and my dreams had just come crashing onto my shoulders, and I didn't know what to do with myself. So I sat there for a while, and I stared at the screen, and I didn't want to believe it, and I didn't know what to make of it. I was 12. I had no rational thinking. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what it meant. But the only thing I did know was that the life I had dreamed for myself wasn't happening. And as a 12-year-old, that was probably one of the most horrible things to this day that I can remember. And I don't think there's a lot of people out there that know that. Oh. So I left that room a different 12-year-old, a 12-year-old with the weight of the world on her shoulders, and I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell anyone that I knew, because as much as it hurt me, I could have only imagined how much it hurt them knowing and trying to hide it from me, and I knew that they were protecting me, so I never brought it up. After that experience, I wouldn't say I was angry or depressed or mad. I was just lost. That's the only word I can describe it. I had made this entire future in my mind for myself, and I had just found out that, no, that's not going to happen. So for a long time through my teens, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think, and I didn't know how to plan the rest of my life. And after doing this for a few years and growing up and learning more about science and medicine and things like that, I finally came to the realization that that number that was glaring at me on that screen is a culmination of so many different factors and people that had cystic fibrosis. Maybe some of them didn't do their treatments. Maybe they were worse off than me. There are so many different circumstances that could have caused that number to be what it is. And today, it just keeps increasing. So I finally came to the realization that I wasn't going to let a number define who I am. And I wasn't going to let a number dictate how the rest of my life is going to pan out, or how I'm going to plan for it or be excited about it. Because as long as I do everything within my power to ensure that I'll be one of those people at 70 years old saying, woo, cystic fibrosis, then I know I've done everything I can. So with all of that, I went through a rather traumatic understanding of cystic fibrosis story. And I know a lot of people out there do too. And I think it's something that we should talk about and be open about. And that's why I wanted to put my story out there. Like I said, I don't think I've told many people that story at all. And at the time, I didn't tell my parents or anyone. So my advice to anyone out there maybe going through the same path that I am is talk to someone. Talk to me, talk to someone, talk to your parents. It's not a death sentence disease by any means. Don't listen to these statistics that are averages of everyone else around you. We are each individual people, and this disease affects each of us very differently. But despite that, plan for your future, live your dreams, have dreams, and try and understand CF, how it is for you, and the best way you can. And understand that a number doesn't define who you are. It doesn't define your future. It doesn't define who you're going to become. As long as you do everything in your power to be as healthy as you can be, no one can sit there and tell you you can't do something. As sucky as cystic fibrosis can be, a lot of it, I've learned, can be how you look at it. And I choose to look at the positives of CF because it has given me the most amazing perspective on my life. And I value things so much more than I think I ever would at the age of 24. And because of that, I am thankful for it. Do I wish I still had it? No, I'd get that cure in a second. But I'm so thankful that it's shown me my perspective on life. So, like I said, if there's anyone out there going through it, talk to me, talk to anyone. So I hope my story helps someone out there and helps anyone who's going through what I went through. So with all of that, I will say goodbye to you guys, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.